much. Your category is politics, and the answer is 8%. What is the question?
How much of Abu Hamza will have to be removed so as they can get him through the Heathrow metal detector? What level of erection did I once try and have sex with?
Do you measure like on that scale, or is it just on terms of...
Image of you going out on the pole, checking your wallet before you go out, condom, protractor.
How is the government planning to catch middle-class tax avoiders?
With a butterfly net and the van from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
It'll probably work better than the plan they have.
They're planning to catch them using lie detectors. Middle-class people taking lie detector tests. It's like an upmarket version of Jeremy Kyle. And I'd like to see that. Wouldn't you like to see that middle-class Jeremy Kyle? You know, my cleaner ran off to another family. My husband's using the wrong cutlery. You corked my Merlot!
The next topic is environment. Andy Parsons.
So, now, apparently, plastic bags are evil. Because apparently, they take 100 years to biodegrade. Now, that came as a bit of a shock to me, because often when you get a bag in a supermarket, they seem to biodegrade when you put anything heavy in them. That is why people double bag, isn't it? Because otherwise, it's like a crap magic trick, isn't it? They give you the bag, you put the bag on the counter, you put the stuff in the bag, you pull up the bag, and hey presto, the stuff's still there on the bloody counter.
Well done, Andy Parsons.
People were saying, oh, well, it's stupid, you know, what's the point of any of our kids learning Arabic? But it could be quite useful, couldn't it? For instance, if you were sat on the tube and two people in front of you were speaking Arabic, it would make you a little more relaxed about what they had in their bag. Basically, these education proposals, you know, they've been upsetting teachers. And you don't want to upset a teacher, do you? Very easy to upset a teacher. All you've got to do to upset a teacher is go, oh, you've got long holidays. They don't like that, do they? And then, if you continue with that with, oh, and you finish at 3:30. Oh, they're livid, aren't they? Oh, I've got me marking.
And Frankie, the next topic is... it's terrorism. Andy's in like a shot.
Now, Tony Blair has once again tried to justify improving our nuclear weapons because he says one of the reasons is he's worried terrorists such as Osama bin Laden might get hold of them. Now, once again, I think this is scaremongering. We know Osama bin Laden hasn't got a nuclear weapon because we haven't seen it on his videos. We know he's got a rifle and a donkey. I don't think we've got to worry until he's ditched the rifle and we see his donkey strapped with a cruise missile.
Well done, Andy Parsons. Bad things to say at a job interview.
I'm really only here because I'm hoping to slip on a wet floor and then fall off a ladder.
Hey, I remember you from the dungeon. How you doing? It's me, Gimpy Terry.
I'm Gimpy Terry's mate.
He has been accused of verbally abusing a policeman at the gates to Downing Street who wouldn't let him through the main gates and forced him to go through the pedestrian gates. He swore at the policeman and apparently called him a pleb.
They may have changed the words he said, because the words they claim he says was, best you learn your effing place, you don't run this effing government, you're effing plebs. Right. He said he didn't say those words. Now, I can't read out what words he said, because he hasn't told us, so those are the only ones I can read out.
These are the people, though, who are charged with protecting him. You don't want to upset them.
No.
Oh, yes, I didn't catch Mr. Mitchell as he fell from the second floor of the building, because I didn't think he'd want me to touch him, given that I'm a pleb and everything. But as we took his body out of Downing Street, we took him through the main gate. It's what he would have wanted.
We start with a round called Headliners. Here's a picture of Prime Minister Gordon Brown with his immediate predecessor, Tony Blair. But what does BMCB stand for?
Is it Brown's Mental Complete Breakdown?
Or is it just Britain's Mr. Charisma Bypass?
Is it Blundering Morons Crucifixion Begins?
Or is it just bollocks, my career's buggered?
Sometimes that's all satire needs to be.
I'll call it ideas for scenarios we'd love to see, and the performers come in with their suggestions. The first subject is unlikely things to hear on Comic Relief.
And we'd just like to thank the donation of 160,000 turkeys from a Mr. B. Matthew.
The next topic is the worst thing your new neighbour could say.
What day do the bins go out round here? My wife's body's starting to stink.
I hope my turkeys won't be keeping you awake. So, it was the Olympic parade last week. It was great seeing it live. Obviously, I had to keep a certain amount of a low profile in the crowd because I was throwing a sickie from work at the time. But it was great. 21 buses driving through London at a steady 2 miles an hour. So very like a normal day in London, really. There was an embarrassing moment, though, when one of the conductors rang the bell on the bus and then got the shit kicked out of him by the blind football team. And I realised, actually, that I could get into any sport during the Olympics. The only sport I couldn't actually get into, dressage. Watching a horse walk and then reverse. They call it horse ballet. I don't think anybody would go and see ballet if it was just some bloke walking a bit quicker, slowing down a bit, stopping, bowing, and then pissing off. And secondly, not many people go to ballet anyway because it's shit. Thank you very much, Andy Parsons. Is it the number of tweets that David Cameron's received to his new Twitter account that include the word tosspot? Is it, in fact, what are the chances against getting a joke about Jim Fricks on the BBC?
Berlusconi will put you in the cabinet in Italy at the age of 19 if you're good enough. So you can see where it's coming from.
Harriet Harman's an incredible figure, isn't she? You know that Harriet Harman, when she first came to my attention, she wrote a book about the history of feminism, which she dedicated to her husband. She's mistaking sexism with people hating her.
She's always saying stupid things, isn't she? She said she is Radio 2 to Gordon Brown's Radio 4. And you're thinking, well, she's not Radio 2. Radio 2 is the most popular radio station in this country. If she's anything, she's Isle of Wight FM on a Sunday morning at 3 o'clock in January when the transmission mast is broken. Andy Murray, a man who actually came along to our studios, didn't he?
Yes, indeed he did.
Came along after he'd lost Wimbledon.
Yep.
And then after we'd all taken the piss out of him, he went off and he won the Olympics and he won the US Open.
Yes.
I think all sports people who are struggling should come into the audience of the show. Let's get Paula Radcliffe, Philip Sidowu, Nick Clegg. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
I think it's kind of ironic that you'd ban smoking in pubs in London when it's kind of impossible to breathe outside a pub in London. Children are chasing buses down the street, like nipping at the tailpipe, hoping for chunks of charcoal fresh air, you know.
So says the man from LA.
You let people drive cars, right? I'm guessing a car puts out more smoke than maybe a cigarette?
It does, but that doesn't mean,
You don't actually drive inside. You know, don't drink and drive, especially in the pub.
OK, so war on terror. Who wants to go first? Andy?
Yes, the war on terror. The Americans have said, you know, they're worried that Iraq is their new Vietnam. Let's hope not. Otherwise, we're in for some shit movies in about 10 years' time.
Good man, Andy. Well done, Andy Parsons there. Your category is sport. The answer is 1 billion.
Is it how many wives would Henry VIII have had if he'd been on Tinder?
I shall have her. And I shall have her. Am I even flicking the right way? I shall have her. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Is it how many pounds in cash did the Queen hide under her bed when she'd seen that Jeremy Corbyn had been elected leader?
Her family security is at risk. Here's a picture of the new Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn. So what's going on here?
Has he been sleeping in the bin on the right?
The idea it could be the oldest delivery boy in the world still hasn't figured out how to hold a pizza correctly.
Is he such a dedicated socialist that he refuses to look to the right, even though that's the direction he is in fact looking?
The topic is politics. Who wants to come in on that? Andy Parsons.
So, we've had the Lib Dems announce their immigration plan. What they like to do is they like to put immigrants into places in Britain which don't, at the moment, have many immigrants. Quite what those parts of Britain will feel about that policy. I grew up for quite a long time in Cornwall, and there they regarded anybody who came from Devon as an immigrant. We had one bloke on our street who was known as the Traveller because he'd once been by train up to London. And we have a new president for Europe, a man by the name of Herman Van Rompuy. Now, the Sun can't wait to get a headline going on this one. Rumpy Pumpy, Rumpy Numpty, Humpty Rumpy. They'll go for gold if he gets involved in an affair with a one-legged ugly dwarf. Rumpy Pumpy from Rumpy Numpty with Frumpy Stumpy Grumpy.
Well done, Andy Parsons. Your category is world news. Your answer is 1/5. What's the question?
How much of a Boris Johnson speech is not, well, I say, boss?
OK, here we go. The first subject is things you wouldn't hear on a science documentary.
Hello, my name's Dara O'Briain. And to try and bring science to the masses, I'm going to appear in a programme with Stephen Hawking wearing a ridiculous hat.
Just enough with the, you know. I love that hat, by the way.
Hello, I'm Dara O'Briain. And I've got a massive head and a massive brain. But all I get to do in this bit is just press a little button.
The Olympics. Who wants to come in that? Andy Parsons.
Now, I don't know how you got on with getting tickets for the Olympics. There are still tickets for the Greco-Roman wrestling. Yeah, whoopee-doo. There aren't so many Romans in Britain anymore, are there? And those Greeks can't afford the tickets. And we will have forever our first GB football team. Yeah, it'll be the first time that Ryan Giggs, Ashley Cole and John Terry have got together since the last Miss World contest. But if you haven't got any tickets, go and see the Olympic road race cycling, right? It's free, yeah? But it's not the same as proper road cycling. Never in the Olympics do you see somebody having to go off into a ditch because there's a lorry turning left. Never do you see somebody go over the handlebars because some idiot in his car has opened the door without looking in his side mirror. Never do you see somebody fall off their bike because a car has screamed past and somebody has whined down the window and shouted, "Boo!" Although that may happen when the Olympics come to Hackney in 2012.
Thank you very much, Andy Parsons. What did David Cameron do recently that no other serving British Prime Minister has ever done?
Samantha Cameron.
Yeah. He wasn't. Yeah, that's true. But he also went on Letterman in the States, didn't he?
He came out to loads of dry ice and they said it represented a London fog when we haven't had a London fog for over 100 years. That's the stereotype image that those Americans believe. What? The fat, dumb redneck. The closest we've currently got to a London fog is Boris Johnson at the moment. Either that or Amy Childs from The Only Way Is Essex.
What Boris Johnson did say was that he got it wrong deliberately because he didn't want to seem like he had Latin coming out of every orifice. Now, that sounds creepy, doesn't it?
The thing about Boris Johnson, though, isn't it, is everybody thinks he's quintessentially English, but in fact he was born in America, named after a Russian, and looks like a Swedish person who's eaten another Swedish person.
And it's the economy. Andy Parsons.
I suppose we should be grateful we're not in Greece. Things very bad there. There's rioting. Things so bad, the austerity measures, that they can't even afford to put petrol in their milk bottles to chuck them. Things are so bad they're having to put milk in their milk bottles. That's how bad things are. Oi, take that. Yeah, in 2 hours your clothes are going to smell really bad. The European Central Bank, right, they have said that when it comes to Greece, they think it may be a bit like the Ebola virus, right? And they said we may have to cut off our leg to survive. Now, they may know a bit about finance. They know very little about the Ebola virus. It affects your entire body. You cut your leg off, you've still got the Ebola virus. You've just got one leg bloody less.
Thank you very much, Andy Parsons. Lines you wouldn't hear in a war film.
We've managed to crack the Germans' code. Turns out they were sending messages in German.
I'm afraid we can't afford goggles. So what we're going to have to do, we're all going to have to go like this.
Things you didn't hear at the Olympics.
I am the little girl from the opening ceremony. This is my real voice.
And it's gold for Ireland! And it...
Go again, man, go again. Do it.
And there's fuck all for Ireland!
No, I'm not letting you off for the last Ireland joke. You're not getting on again for the rest of the show. You are not doing another one for the rest of the show, all right? Discarded titles for the next Harry Potter book.
Harry Potter and the Mudblood Prince in a Nazi uniform. Harry Potter and the two other kids who can't act.
The first topic is global warming. Who wants to come in on that? Andy Parsons.
Sheryl Crow, she's gone into the debate. She wants us to save natural resources by apparently using only one sheet of toilet paper per visit. Now, let's face it, sometimes that's just not feasible, is it? But ever since I found that out, part of me's there thinking, each time I use more than one sheet, I've let Sheryl Crow down. Then part of me's thinking, oh, I'd never want to go out with Sheryl Crow. She's a toilet paper Nazi. And half the time, she's probably got a dirty arse.
Thank you very much, Andy Parsons. Here's a picture of former Prime Minister Tony Blair recently, but what does BGBC stand for?
Is it in fact Blair's guilt-free, blood-stained conscience?
That was a lovely laugh.
Is it in fact everything the British Army didn't have when we went to war? Bullets, guns, bombs, choppers. I would like to apologise for the rocking of this boat, but we are currently being humped by a whale. There appears to have been an incident in the swimming pool. If a Mr. Barrymore could contact the captain. He actually has ice baths in a wheelie bin. And I mean, that can't be enjoyable, can it? Particularly if he does it on a Tuesday and gets carried away by the cancer.
What a rugby commentator would never say.
Oh, and he skipped through the defence, and that's lucky, because if these South Sea Islanders catch you, they eat you.
And it's the coin toss, and Johnny Wilkinson has sprained his thumb. And here comes...
Hugh Dennis.
It was after I heard the buzzer that I realised there was one thing I hadn't heard at the Olympics, right, was fuck it.